Thank you very much. Good afternoon, everyone. I'd like to call the meeting to order and acknowledge that we're in Treaty 1 territory, the home and traditional lands of the Anishinaabe, Ojibwe, Innu, Cree, and Dakota peoples, and in the national homeland of the Red River Métis. Our drinking water comes from Shoal Lake 40 First Nation in Treaty 3 territory. My name is Lynn Nesbitt, and I'm chairing the panel today. Joining me are other panel members via Zoom, Ron Merritt and Richard Whitbread, who is in the boardroom. Our recording secretary is Jaswinder Kumar, and our assessor today is Stephen Lobenstein. We'll be hearing applications for revision of the assessment role in accordance with the Municipal Assessment Act. The matters for which revision is requested have been described in each application, and we will limit discussion to those matters. The statements that are made at this hearing are sworn testimony, and anyone speaking to the matters must be sworn in. Be advised that comparisons of assessments of properties are not considered evidence of market value by the Board of Revision. The Board of Revision is appointed annually by Council and is independent of it and the City Administration. It makes its decisions on the basis of the evidence provided at this hearing and issues a written order that will be mailed to all parties as soon as possible. Please note that the board's decisions with respect to an application may be appealed to the Manitoba Municipal Board if the matter pertains to assessed value or classification, or to the Court of King's Bench if the matter pertains to the application of exemptions from taxation. Should you wish to appeal, information on how to do so will be included with the board's order. With respect to the hearing process, I'll confirm the points of appeal with your property to be addressed with each applicant following the swearing in. We will then have the assessor's testimony followed by questions that the applicant may have, and then the applicant's testimony followed by questions. Each side will have an opportunity to summarize if they wish. Once all of the evidence about an application has been brought forward, the applicant may leave. The process will repeat for each item on the docket today. The session will close after all the applications have been heard, and the board will deliberate in private and make its decisions. You will receive the board's decision by registered mail as soon as possible. As information, all public hearings are live streamed, recorded, and will be part of the public record. We will be hearing items 1, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8 on our docket today. Mr. Kumar, please affirm the assessor's and the applicant's testimony.
Yes, Madam Chair, thank you. Mr. Assessor, please state your full name.
Stephen Lobenstein.
Thank you. Do you affirm that the evidence you are about to give at this hearing is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you. Mr. Navarro, please state your full name.
Marcelo Navarro.
Thank you. Do you affirm that the evidence you are about to give at this hearing is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you. Mr. Oliver, please state your full name.
Ryan Oliveros.
Thank you. Do you affirm that the evidence you are about to give at this hearing is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you. Please sit.
Thank you very much. The first item on our docket today is 26 Henlow Bay. Before we begin, are there any preliminary issues?
There's no preliminary issues, but I will have a verbal recommendation, which I do that there probably will be agreement on.
Okay, so if you can start by introducing the property and the recommendation, and we'll go from there.
Sure. The roll number is 030912599900 26 Henlow Bay. The assessed value is $5,791,000. I have a verbal recommendation for $3,754,000. That's $3,754,000.
Thank you. And can you tell us the reason for the recommendation to reduce?
Sure. So this building, after the appeal was set and evidence was submitted back in August, we did an inspection. We came to an agreement that there should be a reduction in leasable area due to some unusable space on the second floor. That's basically maintenance space. So the main reason is the reduction of leasable area, and I believe it's from 64,668 square feet, and we agreed on reducing it to 53,495 square feet.
Okay. Mr. Navarro, there's a recommendation to reduce of $3,754,000. Do you accept the recommendation?
We do accept it.
Thank you very much. Mr. Merritt, do you have any questions?
I have none, Madam Chairperson.
Okay, Mr. Whitbread?
Just one. So with an adjustment to the square footage, your NOI would ultimately change. Would your caps stay the same?
Within our agreement, both Mr. Navarro and I have agreed on a value. Maybe we haven't necessarily agreed on the sort of the methodology to get there. But yes, with a decreased space, leasable area, there would be a decreased NOI, net operating income.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. That concludes item number 1, 26 Henlow Bay. Let me just get to the next one here. Okay, we are on item 3, 1260 Clarence Avenue.
1260 Clarence Avenue. The roll number is 0307 0450,500. The assessed value is $20,902,000. Looking at the property description, you have 6 buildings with 3 premises and only 1 story. The actual year built range from 1950 to 2011, with an effective year built of 1963. The wall heights range from 18 to 20 feet. The zoning's M2. The land area is 1,905,368 square feet. We have a gross floor area of 788,666 square feet and a land to plan of 2.42. So as you can see, this is a fairly large building. So we're gonna head down to my page 9, and we can get a look at where the building's located within the city on 1260 Clarence. So it's in the Fort Garry area, the south part of the city. Number 9, on page 9, the picture below it gives you an overhead view. So this is for Bueller. They produce tractors here. You can see there is an outbuilding there as well, and you can see they're using the grounds to, or they're using the land area to store a lot of their materials for processing and manufacturing. Further down on my page 10, you can just get another angle of the view, looking at Chevier and Hamlin, and of course Clarence. So, and then on my page 10, there are some interior photos. This is the office space on 10 and 11. And you can see some manufacturing on page 12. And of course, on page 13, there's a view of the yard and another interior photo. 14 shows some overhead doors where the loading takes place. 15 shows some more interior photos of the manufacturing or the warehouse portion. So the buildings, so like I stated, we have it over 6 buildings. So the buildings, the original building was built in 1950. It's 9,602 square feet. And then we have a building in 1963 that was built. That was the majority of the building. That's 700,000 square feet. In 2011, there was a small addition for 1,000 square feet. And in 1964, sorry, I'm out of order here. In 1964, there was an addition for 64,904 square feet. In 1975, there was an addition for 8,000 square feet. And in 1998, there was an addition for 3,000 square feet. So moving on to my page 3, you can see the rent comparables for this property. Now, this is an excessively large property in the city at over 700,000 square feet. There's not really any comparables in the sense at that size. So we've done the best we can for this market. So you can see on my rent comparables, we're looking at a range in leasable area at a high of 228,000 square feet and a low of 101,000 square feet. You can see the rents range from $6.95 a square foot for a high, and the low is $3.81 a square foot. Because there are so few large properties that are rented in the city, they're located all across the city, some in Fort Garry, some in the Inkster Industrial Park, some in the St. James area. So you can see there's a wide range of properties within the area. Of course, the lease starts are important. It gives you an idea of the market and the lease terms, which are typical for the market. So for the most part, all these are typical for the market, the 2 year to 20 years. 2 years is on the lower end, 20 years is on the higher end for a lease term. And the lease starts range from 2014 all the way, or sorry, 2008 all the way up to 2020. So most of them are pretty recent. And this is what our model is based off of for our model rents. So we're basing it off actual market evidence or market rents. This brings me to my page 4. So you can see we have it broken down into 3 premises. So the main premise of 773,617 square feet, we have a model rent of $2.54 a square foot. The next is 13,999 square feet. This would be second floor space in the building. So mostly office space. And we have it at $14.97 a square foot. And the final one is 3,000 square feet. We have at $5.04. And this is an outbuilding that is for hazardous storage, I believe. So any other hazardous storage they'll put in this building. We're applying a vacancy loss of 3.5% to our potential rent. We're also applying 3% expenses and a shortfall of $3.85 per square foot. We have a net operating income of $1,808,004. We're applying a fairly high capitalization rate of 8.65% to this building, mostly due to its size. When we capitalize the net operating income at 8.65, we get a capitalized value of $20,902,000. So moving on to my page 5, you can see in the second chart, you have the industrial. So here, this is the 20th to the 80th percentile, from 5.5% to 7.45%. So this property, due to its size, is not within that percentile. It's a bit of an outlier. So that's why we have it up over at 8.65% for a cap rate. So moving further along, we've gone over the pictures and where it's located in the city. There is a mailer. It is an owner occupied. That's on page 18. The property is owner occupied, so it does not generate a rent. So we feel with the market evidence in place that a value of $20,902,000 should be confirmed. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mr. Navarro, do you have any questions?
I actually have conduct of this appeal, Madam Chair.
Okay, go ahead.
Thank you very much. Okay, so looking at your page 1 here, you're stating that there are 6 buildings on site. We actually have that there are 5 buildings on site. Is the 6th building maybe the manufacturing plant and the office sort of put together, or I'm just wondering where that sixth building is coming from?
Sure. Well, we're just combining the it's 6 buildings through renovations. So it's not necessarily 6 buildings on site. It's just that the buildings have had additions over the years. So we have 6 separate additions over the years.
Okay. So you would agree then, I guess, that the total number of buildings on site is actually 5 and not 6?
Well, from the picture, it basically looks like 2. Because one of the buildings is all connected and then there's one sort of outbuilding, it looks like. But I mean, I guess we're just really looking at total square footage in the end. So we have our leasable area at 789,716 square feet.
All right, so going on to page 3 of your evidence here. The model, it appears that it's taking into account economies of scale.
As well as it can, considering this is a 700, almost 800,000 square foot building, yes.
Okay. And you have a rent here for 820 Berry Street, Unit A at $2 a square foot.
Mhm.
Is there a reason why, this being a 700,000 square foot facility, that the rent that has been applied here, we applied 250, but is there a reason why it may not be lower than that?
Well, I think when you look at 820 Berry Street, you see it's got a 20-year lease on it, which is not very typical. So maybe they got a reduction in rent due to signing such a long lease. I'm not overly familiar with 820 Berry Street. I haven't been in it, but I understand it's got very few finishes is the understanding. I think it's just for basically storage. So
There you go. And looking at your first comparable here, 861 McLeod, are you aware that this may actually be an internal rent with the same shareholders?
you know what? I would agree with you on that one. As I think it's been stated or stated before, I didn't make these briefs. I'm taking over for a colleague. So I actually do agree that 861 McLeod should not be on there and it is an internal rent.
And 1150, but you haven't, it says here that the average wall height is 31 feet. The wall heights that the city reports, these are average wall heights even for the subject property, is that correct?
Average, well, yeah. So these are average wall heights, correct?
And again, going back to 1150, but it's a newer build, 1979, and it's 1979 for it. This entire building was built in 1979. Is that correct?
For Fife?
For Fife, yes.
I'm not sure. We have an effective year built of 1979 on Fife, so I don't know if the whole building was built then or if it's sort of portioned out similar to the structure or to the subject property.
But with the fact that it's a newer build with an average wall height that is higher than the subject property, that does make sense that we command a higher rent in comparison to the subject.
I think just economies of scale will also give it a higher rent. And it does have lower square footage in the subject property. Usually higher wall height will demand a higher rent. I agree with that.
I'm going to page 5 of your evidence. Have you provided any actual cap rate comparables for us to look at today?
No, just a chart we have there.
Would you happen to know what the cap rates would be on the high end of what the department has in their data?
I think, yeah, we would see some cap rates around 9 for sure. So similar to the subject, we're at 8.65. So there'd probably be some at 9.
And would you agree that this building would have an added risk due to, or you've already said that's right. And so you would agree that this building here would have an increased risk due to the size, the fact that it has separate buildings or five separate buildings to maintain?
Yeah, so I think our cap rate at 8.65, it's definitely on our higher end. I think that reflects the risk in this building due to the size of it, without a doubt. And also the age, it is a slightly older building within our market with the effective year date of 1963. But our market does have a lot of buildings that are built in 1963 or 60s and 70s, I should say.
Those are all my questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mr. Merritt, do you have any questions of the assessor?
Yes. What goes on in this building?
They build tractors as
Build
Bueller.
tractors.
Yep.
Okay. What dealer is it? Offhand.
Pardon me?
What dealer is it?
It's Bueller Industries.
Okay. Oh, Bueller. Okay. The cap rate that you're using for the subject property is 8.65. A little unusual to be that high.
I don't think it's unusual for this type of property to be that high. I think being almost 800,000 square foot, as I talked about before, we need to reflect that risk for a single tenanted property. So, and also the age, like I mentioned before, it is older. It's definitely not the oldest in the city, but it's old at an effective year built in 1963.
So in your estimation, is this the biggest warehouse or manufacturing plant they've ever seen?
It is very large. It's definitely one of probably the largest in the city. You would have New Flyer up there, Motor Coach, which is just down the street. You know, there'd be a few other ones for sure, but those are the first ones that come to mind. So yeah, it's definitely one of the larger properties for manufacturing within the city of Winnipeg.
So the cap rate that you're using is, of course, model driven. Any overrides in there at all, or?
There is no overrides in any of this, no.
Okay. And I guess we could ask you the question whether you've been to the property?
Okay, well, funny enough, no, not on official inspection, but years ago when I was younger, I did get a full tour of the company and of the building. So I mean, it's far back in my memory, but it's pretty interesting being in there. So, but I did see all the offices and the manufacturing and everything. So
I thank you very kindly, Stephen. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Merritt. Mr. Whitbread, do you have any questions?
Just two. Stephen, did you inspect any of the buildings today on the docket?
Not on the docket?
Yes.
Well, no, I did not, because this was not my docket to begin with. Some of these buildings have been inspected in the past, but
Okay.
no, I didn't.
We don't have to ask you every time.
Sure.
Just a bit of confusion on my part. I'm in your mailer on page 18, and this may have a simple explanation, but help me. You go from a net operating income, a loss of 224 million, 2 million, 240 sideways, and I don't know how to turn it.
Yeah, sorry, it was put in sideways, but there is no net operating income because it's owner occupied. Those are just the expenses.
So your model, that was the net operating income on the mailer.
Well, the mailer actually doesn't have a net operating income. It only has, they've just filled that in as a net operating income because it actually doesn't produce any income from leases.
So they call it a net operating loss.
Not really. It's just they just put I guess it's just how it was calculated out. They just implemented it like that. Because if you look, it matches the expenses, so they're just putting the expenses as a negative.
Okay.
Yeah, the property doesn't generate any income because it's owner occupied.
Right. Okay. And you confirmed, I believe, that the model selected the net operating income that you have.
Yeah, it's completely model driven, the net operating income.
Yeah, I get it. Thank you very much. No further
questions.
Thank you. Can you just clarify something? You said that you haven't personally inspected the property, but when was the last time it was inspected?
It's a great question. We seem to have some pictures of it. I don't have the date of when it was last inspected. Yeah, none of these seem to have a date on it of when it was inspected. So
yeah, that was sort of my follow-up question. When were the pictures taken?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, usually they would have a date on it. I don't know why these ones don't. So okay. I apologize. I don't know when it was last inspected.
Nope, that's okay. Okay, so that would be all of our questions, I think. So Mr. Oliveros, when you're ready with your presentation.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So the subject property is 1260 Clarence Avenue. The roll number is 03-070-450-500. The file number is 22-2425. Now I have inspected this property on September the 28th. And I provided photos on my brief on pages 6 to 7, as well as in the appendix. Now this building, they do have a lot of proprietary processes and products that they had asked me to keep out, so I did have to keep my photos quite limited on here. So the photos, as I was saying on my appendix, are on pages 23 to 26, and I will go through those in a bit more detail later on. So going on to page 6, we can see here a photo of the subject property of the exterior. This would be considered the front part of the property along Clarence Avenue. And we can see here that the sign there does read Versatile Logistics, but I can say that that is a subsidiary of Bueller Industries. Now, Versatile Logistics, they do manufacture tractors and tillage equipment. Going on to page 8 of my brief, the property is located in the Fort Garry industrial area on the southeast corner of the intersection of Clarence and Hamlin. The property was built in stages between 1950 to 2011. And approximately 64% of the building was built before 1966. And that is the portion built before 1966 would be the main manufacturing plant. That is the rather large facility here that you see on page 8. So in total, there are 5 buildings on site. There is the main manufacturing building with office. So the office portions, that includes their accounting divisions, HR, logistics, marketing, design, and other departments. The manufacturing plant, it was built specifically for the manufacturing of their products, of the tractors and the tillage equipment. It utilizes a grid system for the production of their products. So that includes their assembly area, tool rooms, a research and development facility. There is a hazardous waste facility, and I should refer to the map that I have here on page 10 of my evidence. There is also the parts building. This is a Butler style industrial steel building that houses the storage, and where the parts shipping is conducted. There is the shipping building where the final products are loaded and sent to the customers. There is the training building that's also known as the Leslie building here. And that is the building that I have. So this is a rather large facility. It took me about 2 hours to inspect it, even on the buggy that the owner or that the CEO was taking me around on. But it has a gross floor area. We have 790,014 square feet. But after questioning the owner, I will say that they did confirm with me that the total area that they have for this facility is 781,100, and that's shown on page 17 of my brief. This is the breakdown of my rents, of the rent that I have applied, which I will get to later. So yes, actually, I will move on to my valuation now. So again, now we are on page 17. So we can see here that we have applied the income approach for this property. And the property was owner occupied as of the reference date. The total leasable area of the rent comparables that I've identified range from 104,524 square feet to 338,431 square feet. The wall heights range from 12 feet to 38 feet. And we have zonings here, M1, M2, and M3 between the rent comparables. And the rents that were in place, like, as Mr. Lovenstein stated, this is a rather large facility. It's very difficult, if not impossible, to find rent comparables of the same size of the subject. So the rent comparables we identified range, the rents for the comparables that we've identified range from $3.11 a square foot to $9.88 per square foot. So based on these comparables and taking into account the economies of scale here, we've applied a rent of $2.50 a square foot. And just to say that when we do have to take economies of scale into account because of the size of this facility, and that has also been ordered by the board, and we can see that on the highlighted portion of page 53 of my brief. I'm not going to go through that entire board order here today, but we agree that economy of scale does should be taken into account for this property. The vacancy allowance that we've applied is 4% in comparison to the city's 3.5%. I will provide a more detailed study of why we apply that vacancy rate, which is in our cap rate study. The shortfall rate, we've applied $3.85 a square foot, and for the unrecovered expenses, we've applied a total rate of 7%. This is 2% for the structural allowance and 5% for unrecovered expenses. The cap rate we've applied, the city's applied 8.65%. In our analysis, we've applied 8.75%. And this is to account for the added risk, again, due to the size, the fact that this building was specifically built for the manufacturing of the tractors and tillage equipment for Versatile, and due to the added risk to maintain the 5 separate buildings. And the final value that we propose is $18,021,000. Now, I do have an adjustment there. That is for the lot at 1203 Chevrolet. We've historically applied that adjustment. And 1203 Chevrolet, if you flip back to page 6 of my brief, that is the small plot of land located on the southeast corner there, as you can locate on the southeast corner. That is also owned by, it is owned by the same owner, and we consider it a single economic unit. So we're asking the board to reduce the assessed value for this property to $18,021,000. And that concludes our presentation for this specific property. And I'm not too sure if would the board like me to go through my cap rate evidence now and unrecovered expenses, or do we want to ask questions about the specific?
No, I think it's important that you can go through it now.
Okay, so I'll start off with our industrial cap rate study. So I'm just looking through my notes here. Okay, so on page 2 of my cap rate study, and I apologize that the pages are not numbered in this version. So when I do refer to page numbers, I believe everybody is looking at our evidence electronically, if I'm not mistaken. Okay, so I am referring to the PDF pages that are indicated likely on the top of your screen there. So going on to page 2 here, so the capitalization rate, it represents the required rate of return on a real estate investment, and it is influenced by 3 major items, which are the investment's income capacity, the investor's expectation for appreciation, and the required return on other investment vehicles. The direct capitalization method, which is the method that we have used, converts a property's income into a value indication, and the formula used is the value which is equal to the NOI divided by the cap rate. And cap rates can be derived through multiple techniques, and the approach we have applied is the use of comparable sales to derive our cap rates. Going on to page 3 of my brief, this is just saying that the applicable reference date that we are to use is April 1st, 2021. And page 4 just states the types of sales that we are not to consider in our cap rate study. And going to page 5 on the industrial vacancies here. So according to our vacancy study here, our inventory is, Winnipeg's inventory is dominated by the manufacturing and investment sector. Going on to page 6, the overall vacancy in the last 10 years has ranged between 2.1% to 3.4%. And in December of 2020, the vacancy is on the high end at 3%. Going on to page 7, regarding the investment sector and the vacancy, there's approximately 28.5 million square feet of investment inventory, 37% of which is single tenant, 63% is multi-tenant, and most investment properties are in the industrial parks that are listed in the table here on page 7. Moving on to page 8, we can see that single tenant vacancy was lower than multi-tenant vacancy until 2015, where there was a shift. In December 2020, single tenant vacancy was only slightly lower by 30 basis points. Going on to page 9, we've listed the broker vacancy rates. And page 10, we have provided the industrial vacancy from the Johnson report and the brokerage reports here. Oh, sorry, that's not on page 10. That is on, those are on page 9 here. And on page 11 of my brief, so based on the tables we've seen on page 8, single tenant investment vacancy ranged from 5.1% to 9.2%. This resulted in an average of 7.21% over the past 10 years, and multi-tenant vacancy rates range from 5.8% to 8.1%, an average of 7%. And in our analysis of our cap rates, we have generally applied a vacancy and bad debt of 4% to the income streams of the cap rate comparables that we have used. Going on to page 14 and 15, we provided the brokerage cap rates, but we do want to say that the brokerage cap rates should be given limited weight. They are very general, and they're not based on the same methodology or net operating income calculations used by the assessor. To also note, Colliers does use closing costs, which would deduct 25 basis points from each cap rate derived. And on page 17, we provided our cap rate comparables, and we can see here that they range from, I think my eyes are shifting on me. They range from 6.5% to 9.16%. And we've essentially broken out the cap rates based on the investment category. So Class A is from 6% to 6.5%. And Class B ranges from 6.5% to 7.5%. And non-investment grade cap rates range 8%, range from 8% or greater. And we do also allow for adjustments to our cap rates for factors such as location, site size, land condition, building size, building condition and age life configuration, and building layout, the strength of the covenant, income forecast, and the regulatory factors. And that concludes my presentation for my evidence for our cap rates. And I guess I will move on to our unrecovered expenses now.
Sure.
So the 5% non-recoverable expense study, or sorry, the non-recoverable expense study that we have here. So to explain what the non-recoverable expenses are not. So the non-recoverable expense allowance is not an expense related to the standard management fees, looking at page 1 here, charged by the owner or a third-party property manager related to the day-to-day operation of the property. These standard management fees are usually recovered in full or in part from the tenants, unless the tenants are on gross or semi-gross leases. And what the non-recovered expense allowance actually is. So it is an allowance that is a stabilized expense involving a number of typical non-recoverable expenses relating to the proper and competent operation of the property. These expenses, they're virtually never recovered from the tenant under any circumstances, including tenants who are on net leases. So the city has typically always applied the 5% non-recoverable expense allowance up until the 2020 assessment for unrecovered expenses. And up until 2006 here, they have provided the appropriate, they were providing the appropriate definition until that time. Going on to page 3. We do know that appraisal theory does recognize that a deduction must be made for non-recoverable expenses, and so do other assessing authorities such as SAMA and MPAC. And that's stated on page 5. And going to page 10 of our non-recoverable expense study. So our analysis, it does support the inclusion of the 5% non-recovered expense, but looking at the non-recovered expenses here, we can see that 5% is actually considered low. So, based on our non-recoverable expense study here, we have applied the 5% non-recoverable expense for this property as well as the other properties on the docket. And that concludes my presentation.
Thank you, Mr. Oliveros. Mr. Lobenstein, do you have any questions?
Yes, I have a few. On your income workup, you have an adjustment, a negative adjustment for land area beside the property. Who owns that land?
It would be the same owner here. So it is, I believe, Haskett Properties.
So, I'm sorry, which? I'm just trying to find your
The
paper.
property is owned by Haskett Properties as well as the adjacent land to the southeast.
Southeast. I'm trying to figure out which portion of land you're speaking of here.
So if we go to page 6, it's the small portion of land here on the southeast corner.
Southeast corner. Page 6.
On page 6, so the first map there, the subject property is marked with that red marker here.
Yeah.
And the land that we have made a deduction for, we've done this in the past, and we've always made that deduction because it's certain the subject property and that land to the southeast corner do form one economic unit.
Okay, so the southeast corner. Oh, down here, this little this little rectangle.
Yes.
Oh, okay. And so they're using that land?
I missed this in my inspection here, so I did look at street view photos of the subject. It doesn't seem like it's in use, so maybe maybe it came with the property, or they might just have it just in case.
What would be the reason for a negative adjustment then?
Again, it's the subject property and that land to the southeast corner do form one economic unit. So we made a deduction for that because
So it's the same owner as
as much value to.
Okay. Sorry, I'm just trying to understand that. Okay. So even though, so the subject owns both of these properties, and you feel that because they own both of it, a negative adjustment should take place just because it's on a different roll number?
Yes, and yeah, I should expand on that. So again, it does form a single economic unit, and given the fact that we didn't even see here that because of all the equipment that they need to store on the subject property, we can see that from the overhead view.
Sure.
There is not enough land here even for parking, I believe. So Bueller does lease the hydrolands to the north, does lease the hydrolands on the north, on the land on the northeast corner here, so we can see the parking on the northeast side.
Yeah, I understand. So that's hydro property, and I'm assuming Bueller leases that from them. It looks like they've paved it for them after the rapid transit was built. But I guess the question I have is that, like, they own this property, they can use it as they will. It's not impeding any of their manufacturing. They could probably replot it and absorb it into their actual property. I'm not sure why they haven't. So I'm just a little confused as to why a deduction needs to take place. I've seen it in the past where industrial properties have to use another portion of a neighboring property to gain access to their property, and occasionally we might do a deduction for that. But I don't see any reason why how this property is a negative impact on the subject property. Anyways, that's not really a question, it's just an observation. My apologies. Going forward, in terms of your cap rate, you're at 8 point. Sorry, give me a second here. These are from big briefs. So you're at 8.75 and we're at 8.65. Why do you think that small adjustment needs to take place on this property?
Yeah, again, that's just based on our cap rate study here. So this property would be considered as non-investment grade, and again, considering the size of the building, the fact that there are 5 separate buildings to maintain, the fact that it was specifically built for versatile here, we've added premiums to the cap rate, and we worked it out to 8.75%.
Those are all my questions.
Thank you very much. Mr. Merritt, do you have any questions?
Thank you. There's a discrepancy in regards to the square footage for the property. So I think the applicant is about approximately about 9,000 square feet shorter or smaller than the city of Winnipeg. So who's correct?
So my areas that I've applied here came directly from the owner through the floor plans. They weren't able to provide me the floor plans or allow me to add floor plans to my brief because they do want to keep that private. But these are the building measurements that they had.
I have no objection to their square footage. I calculated on the mailer, and that's what it's basically equals what Mr. Oliveira has put forth, so I don't have an objection to that. I believe in a building this size, there's probably space that gets changed quite often, so 9,000 square feet, I'm fine with.
Okay. So you're not objecting to the
I'm not objecting
781 that they're using?
No.
Okay.
I'm not.
So would you change your figure then because you're 9,000 square feet higher?
Yeah, if I had the ability to do that right now, I would, but I don't have the tools. So.
Right. And like you say, Stephen, you're basically just presenting this evaluation because its a workup is not really yours, eh?
Well, it's not that it's not mine. This is a model workup. This is the leasable area that we have. I mean, I'm not. this is what they put on their mailer. I mean, we do change leasable areas. I mean, recently we just had that recommendation where I changed the leasable area. So this will be something that we go back and look at for the next cycle, and we'll look at changing the leasable area. So.
In past assessments, has there always been a negative adjustment for the land or possibly the replot of this subject property?
Yeah, so I looked back at the 2018 and 2020 briefs that we prepared, and we have historically made a deduction for the small plot line at 1203 Chevrier. But I believe that even 2020 has been brought to the municipal board, so there may be there are, I think, disagreements between our office and the city in that case.
So what you're saying is basically it is at the municipal board for a previous assessment?
That's correct.
All right. Well, thank you very kindly.
Thank you, Mr. Merritt. Mr. Whitbread, do you have any questions?
Just one small one. Looking at discrepancy in your page 2, you identify 18,233,000, but then on page 20, you indicate 18,021,000. Did I miss something? There's a $221,000 discrepancy.
Yeah, I might have just forgotten to update that to the correct amount. So my final value is the value stated on page 20, which is 18,021,000.
So your workup is the right one.
Correct.
Thank you. No further questions.
Thank you. That was my question too. Couldn't get the math to work. Okay, I think then there's no more questions for item number 3. We will move on. Item number 4 on our agenda is 2627 Pembina Highway. So Mr. Lobenstein, when you're ready.
Sure. The roll number is 0306-187-4100. The address is 2627 Pembina Highway. So you can see it is we consider it a light industrial manufacturing building. The actual years built range from 1973 to 2004, and the wall heights range from 12 feet to 19 feet. The land area is 63,113 square feet. And the leasable and gross floor area are 20,419 square feet for a land to plan of 3.09. Okay, so as you can see, there's a recommendation to confirm the assessed value. That goes without saying. And then the 2020 value is at the municipal board for $2,050,000. Now, I am going to make my own recommendation here. So this, as I was reviewing the documentation, I felt that this property last cycle was valued on land, and that's where that 2020 value comes from. This cycle, it was changed to cost, and I'm not too sure why. So that's the cost value you see at $2,535,000, which includes the land value plus the cost of the structures. So in doing my research for this property to prepare for this, I decided that the brief actually here does not have any of the cost values on it. So my recommendation is actually going to be for the income value. We have done an income workup for this property on page 16. There's a retail portion for it. And on page 17, there's an industrial manufacturing.
I'm sorry to interrupt, Madam Chair. I think we lost our panel member, so I'll ask this panel to just.
Oh,
Sure.
okay. Yeah, we'll just hold on.
Can we have a quick break, Madam Chair? I think Mr. Merritt must be having a hard time to reconnect.
So should we take a few minute recess while you try to get him back on?
Yes, please.
Okay,
Thank you.
let's do that and then we can get him back on. And Mr. Lobenstein, maybe we can start from the beginning again, just so we make sure Mr. Merritt hears everything.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Good afternoon. I'd like to call this meeting back to order and thank everyone for their patience as we were dealing with some technical issues. We're going to start again on item number 4, just to make sure that everybody has heard the evidence. So, Mr. Assessor, when you're ready.
Sure. The address is 2627 Pembina Highway. The roll number is 030618744100. And the assessed value is $2,535,000. So before we had the technical issues, I was talking about a recommendation that I'm going to be making for this property. The recommendation I'm making is for $2,118,000. Now, I make this recommendation because our assessed value of $2,535,000 is actually done on the cost approach, not the income approach. I feel the preferred approach for this property is the income approach. So going forward, I'll just quickly looking at my page 2, you can see a picture of the property. That's a Google Street View from the street. You can see Corporal's Water is tenanting the building at the moment, or occupying the building. There's a few more pictures on page 3 from the exterior or the street view, and then an over the head an overview shot as well. So the property, its land area is 63,113 square feet. Its gross floor area is 20,419 square feet, same as the leasable, as a land plan at 3.09. Now, there on page 5, you can see the subject sales history of the sales mailer. In 2010, it did sell for $2,050,000. So that's just slightly below my recommendation of $2,118,000. And page 6 and 5 has the sales mailer that was filled out for the property, as well as page 7 shows the title search for the property. And if you note on page 8 at the bottom, considerations for $2,050,000. So moving forward, so since we're doing this on the income approach and not the cost or the land approach, because I feel the preferred approach is the income, the fact that there is actually a building on the property that could generate an income. We're going to my page 18. So I'll give you all a minute to get there. And on page 18 are my rent comparables. So the rent comparables were taken from the market, and the model, we have the model that uses these rent comparables to create its rents. So our model is based off the market. You can see the rents range from $7.25 up to $17.50. The year built range from 1950 all the way up to 2007. And the average wall heights range from 12 feet up to 24 feet. The leased areas are similar to the premises, and they range from 2,000 square feet all the way up to 9,518 square feet. And of course, the lease terms and the lease starts, you want to make sure that they're close to market or at market. So the lease terms range from 15 years at the high end to 3 or 2 years at the lower end. And of course, the lease starts range at the high end from 2020 and the low end is 2007. And the rent comparables, these rent comparables are somewhat across the city, on Erin, Lowson, Portage, Chevrier. A lot of the streets like Portage are probably quite similar to the subject in terms of Pembina. They have a similar mixed use of properties, so it would make for a good comparable. Within my brief as well, there are some land comparables. these were put in here initially with the thought that these are from last cycle. So they're just showing the land along Pembina is selling for fairly high per square foot at $4. Well, one at $11.16, one at $48.75, one at $67.04, and one at $128.44 a square foot. That's why page 19. But I'm not valuing this on land or cost, I'm valuing this on income. So going to my income valuations is on page 16. So we start off with, we have two income streams for this property. We have a retail portion of it and a manufacturing portion of it. So the retail portion is the first income stream at 4,800 square feet. We're applying a rate of $11.97 a square foot. We get our potential rent of $57,456, and we are applying a 6% vacancy, 3% expenses, and an overall capitalization rate of 7.15 to get an estimated value of $705. The next income stream is the light manufacturing income stream. So we see that we have 9,500 square feet and 6,119 square feet for a combined 15,619 square feet. And we get a potential rent of $93,567. We're applying the 3.5% vacancy, 3% expenses, and an overall capitalization rate of 6.05% for a total of $1,413,000. So this is all model driven, but it's based off of my rent comparables. The rents are based off of the market rent comparables on page 18. So on my page 28, you can see the income value summary of the two income streams put together to get the estimated market value of $2,118,000. Further down is my capitalization rates. These are the model rates that the city has produced. We've talked about these before, so you can see the industrial and the retail side by side on the chart. And so I feel the value should be changed to $2,118,000, changing it to the income approach. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Is it Mr. Navarro or Mr. Oliveros on this one?
Mr. Oliveros.
Thank you. Do you have any questions for the assessor?
I do. So I completely understand. Very important function to attend. I guess before he had passed all these files to you, did he get a chance to go through each of his briefs with you at all?
I went through each of his briefs. I did ask Merrick a few questions on them when needed, yes.
Okay. Did he let you know, I guess, the issue with this property was highest and best use? I think we both agreed that the subject building itself wasn't Merrick and myself did agree that the building was not the highest and best use of the site. And he had let me know in an email that that he valued this based on the land value. Were you aware of that?
We spoke about that, but when him and I looked at it together, we realized the model was not evaluated on land value. It was evaluated on the cost value, the cost approach. So when we looked at it a second time, I explained to him that I felt with the evidence he put forward and the valuation of this property that the income approach would be the best way forward.
I see. Okay. I guess that just caused a little confusion on our end because we had agreed that should be valued based on land, and that's the approach that we had taken in our evidence.
I mean, you have the right to evaluate how you see fit. I feel in this instance that the evidence that we put forward, that the best valuation would be the income approach due to the fact that there is actually a building on the property that is tenanted or has not so much tenanted, but has a company in there right now. So
I just need a moment to think about this because I guess you can understand how this sort of turns things around on us, but so I think for now, we appreciate the offer, but respectfully decline at this point.
Okay. So, Mr. Oliveros, do you have then questions for the assessor?
No further questions.
Thank you. Mr. Merritt, do you have questions of the assessor?
I have none, Madam Chairperson. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Whitbread?
I have none, thanks.
Okay. All right then, Mr. Oliveros, if you'd like to proceed with your presentation.
Okay, so the subject property at 2627 Pembina Highway, the roll number is 03-06187100. The file number is 22-2871. So on our summary here on page 2, we are asking the board to reduce the value from $2,535,000 to $1,567,000. I provided photos and as well as maps of the subject property on page 6 of my evidence. And going on to page 8 here. So the subject property, it is located at 2627 Pembina Highway, and it is situated on the west side of Pembina Highway, just north of Dalhousie Drive in the city of Winnipeg. The subject property is best described as a retail type property with some industrial type features for the storage and sales of bottled water. It consists of a retail area, manufacturing area, and cold storage area. And it was built in stages, and I've provided a table here of the construction of the property. So the retail leasable area is 4,800 square feet. The cold storage warehouse, which is at is 1,500.
Because you gave me the wrong number.
And the heated warehouse is 6,119 square feet of leasable area. And it operates as the corporals and distributes purified water. The subject site, it is a parallelogram, and the total site size, according to the city's records, is approximately 63,113 square feet with C2 commercial zoning. So, as I had stated initially, so we were of the understanding that the current use of the site is not the highest and best use, and to show that I have done up an income approach here starting on page 10. So for the light manufacturing portion, the property, it was owner occupied as of the reference date. So we have identified the lease comparables shown here. So for the industrial portion in the first table, the leasable area ranges of my comparables range from 4,825 square feet to 9,992 square feet. Wall heights ranging from 10 feet to 27 feet. And the rents range from $6.25 a square foot to $15.33 a square foot. And we have a mix of zoning of M2 here. For the storage component, there are not many leases out there of unheated storage spaces, but we do have two here at Eagle Drive. The total usable area is 2,032 square feet and 1,088 square feet. The rents are $1.48 a square foot and $3.25 per square foot. So for the warehouse portion here, we've applied a rate for the unheated portion of $2.50 a square foot. For the heated portion, we've applied a rate of $7.25 a square foot. This results in a potential gross rent of $68,113 per annum, or $4.36 a square foot. We applied a vacancy allowance of 4%, a shortfall rate of $3.85 a square foot. And for non-recovered expenses, we've applied 7%, and we've already gone through our non-recovered expense study. For the cap rate, we've applied a rate of 8% to the warehouse portion. And for now, moving on to the retail portion, the rents that we have identified, again, this is an owner-occupied facility. The ages range from 1978 to 2005. The total leasable area of the rent comparables is range from 4,560 square feet to 8,354 square feet. The wall heights range from 8 feet to 20 feet, mix of M2 manufacturing, and the rents in place for the rent comparables range from $6.95 a square foot to $16.42 a square foot. So based on these comparables for the retail portion, we've applied a rate of $12.25 a square foot. This works out to $58,800 per annum. We've applied a vacancy rate allowance of 4%. So we have essentially treated this, although this is a retail portion, we've treated this all as industrial. So a vacancy allowance of 4%, a shortfall rate of $3.85 a square foot. And for the cap rate, we've applied a rate of 7.25%. So going on to page 14 here, which is a summary of my income workup here. We land at a value of $1,403,000 rounded. So looking at this value here, we can see that this is land value. So our argument is that the current use of the site is not the highest and best use, and we have now valued it. So we have our final value is based on what this site would sell for as if it were vacant. So going on to page 17 of my brief, we've identified land sales comparables within the same division of the subject property. They range in size from 27,597 square feet to 469,729 square feet. So we do feel that the best comparables that we have here are the last two on Pembina Highway, which are at $26.67 square foot and $28.13 a square foot. The range of the comparables range from $12.70 a square foot to $28.13. But again, looking at the comparables on Pembina Highway, we do feel that those are the best comparables that we do have because they are on the same street. We've applied a rate, it says 36 here, that should say $30 a square foot to the 63,113 square feet of land area, which results in a value of $1,893,390. However, we would also suggest that the cost of demolition to deconstruct the current improvements should be deducted. And I sent an email to our cost team here, and they determined that the rate that should be applied to demolish the improvements. And I included email on page 32 of my brief. So for a building similar to the subject, they were suggesting a rate of $150 to 200 meters squared, or $14 to $18.50 a square foot. But it does include site work demolition. So we've applied a rate here of $16 per square foot in our analysis. So the total demolition costs is $326,704. So our final value, less the demolition cost, is $1,567,000, or $24.83 a square foot. And that concludes my presentation.
Thank you very much. Mr. Lobenstein, do you have any questions?
Yeah, I have a few. So your approach to this is using the land valuation?
That's correct, yes, because our income workup showed that that the current improvements are not the maximally productive use of the subject site. Again, given the final value that we came to.
Now, the values between your income approach and your land approach are fairly similar, though, a little more than $100,000 off.
That's correct, yes, which is why we decided to go with the land value here.
So it's not a sizable difference.
Not a sizable difference, no.
On your page 17, I see you listed $36, but you've corrected that to $30 a square foot.
Yes.
Mike, I guess my question is, how did you come up with a land valuation of $30 a square foot when none of your comparables are at $30 a square foot?
So again, just looking at the comparables on Pembina here, they are at $26.67 a square foot and $28.13 a square foot. I do know that the south side was booming with many developments taking place there, and these are older sales. So considering a subjective time adjustment here, I applied $30 a square foot.
So there are no other sales on Pembina Highway that you could have used that would have justified a higher rate of $30. These are the only ones that you could find.
These are the only ones that I was able to find on Pembina, yes.
Now you're saying that this is selling as if the land is vacant. So all of these sales you have here are vacant lands with no buildings on it.
That's correct, yes.
So why do you feel you need to deduct demolition costs if you're valuing this as if it's vacant?
Well, I mean, so someone would have to purchase property as if they're vacant land, and they would have to consider the demolition costs.
Yes, but you're using comparables that don't have demolition costs included.
I mean, that maybe a point to consider, but.
And in terms of your demolition costs, did you talk to any contractors within the city of Winnipeg of what it would cost them to demolish this building? Or is this just through a colleague of yours?
This is through a colleague of mine.
Those are all my questions.
Thank you very much. Mr. Merritt, do you have any questions?
Yes, madam. Ryan, you represent the applicant or the owners here?
We represent the owners.
Okay. So do you know anything about the sale that took place for the $2 million, or I don't have the figure handy. Okay. So there was a sale of the property, was there not?
There was a sale, that's correct, yes. But it is a very old sale. So typically when it's sales that are, when sales are that old, we don't really look into it that much because there's just been many factors that have changed since that time.
All right, I thank you. That's it, thanks.
Thank you. Mr. Whitbread?
No questions, thanks.
No questions?
No.
And I have no questions either. So thank you very much for that. Let me just finish my notes here. Okay. Now move to item number 5 on our agenda. 1370 Sony Place. Mr. Lobinston, when you're ready.
Okay, 1370 Sony Place. The roll number is 030703602000. The assessed value is $26,689,000. The actual year builds range from 1970 to 1988, and the wall heights range from 24 feet to 34 feet. We have M2 zoning and a land area at 840,970 square feet, with a gross floor area of 378,975 square feet and a land to plan of 2.36. We have a leasable area of 371,169 square feet. So moving forward onto my page 2, you can see there are some subject leases that are in place. You see that they range from $5.31 a square foot all the way up to $8.44 a square foot. They have different leased areas, the largest being 200 or almost 230,000 square feet, $6.33 a square foot, and the lowest at 13,130 square feet for $8.40 or $8.44 cents a square foot. So again, our model is based off the market. So we look to the market for market comparables, and on my page 3, you'll see these market comparables. They're all in fairly close proximity to the property on Chevrier, Bennell, Scurfield, Lowson, and Gamble. You can see the market lease terms and lease starts are fairly typical of the market. The largest being a 20-year lease on Chevrier, and the lowest being 5 years on Fennell. And the lease starts range from 2014 all the way up to 2019. Average wall heights are as low as 10, and they go up to 28 for the 15 Scurfield Boulevard. And of course, the effective years built are close to the subject property, ranging from 1977 all the way up to 1968 to 2006. And the net rents range from $6 all the way up to $12 a square foot. So these market comparables are what we use to build our model. So on the next page, you can see how the premises are broken up. You can see they range, again, the highest being almost 230,000 square feet and the lowest being 6,908 square feet. We have a potential rent of $2,177,643. And we have a vacancy of 3.5, expenses of 3, and an overall capitalization rate of 7.45 to get our value of $26,899,000. My colleague has put in on my page 5, I guess, a comparable model of using our potential market income and the income of the subject property. Ignore the address. It's not for 1760 Wellington. It is for this property. So if we use the actual, market income he's put in here, the rents that this building's generating, you would get an income value of $28,998,000. I guess this is just for comparable purposes. So moving forward, we'll look at the addenda on page 8. You can see where it's located in the southern part of the city. It's on Sony Place, but it's very close to McGillivray, in the Chevrier and the Fort Garry industrial area. My page 8, you can get an overhead view of the subject property. You can see it is on Sony, but it does front McGillivray Boulevard. And page 9 gives you a few exterior pictures of the property. And same with on page 10. On page 10, you can see a brochure for leasing of this property. They are they were looking for a tenant this time. You can see some of the tenants that are in this building after on my page 12 and how it's, and then you can see the two properties or the two premises that they're trying to lease out. And again, page 13 gives you a floor plan and page 14 gives you an idea of sort of the office space in this property, which is quite nice for industrial space. And page 21 and 20 have the tenants and the income expense mailer. So we feel that this property valued at $26,689 is fair and equitable and should be confirmed. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mr. Oliver.
Hey, man.
Mr. Oliver. Yes.
Not 26,000.
Did I say 1,000? Sorry, 20. There's lots of numbers. I'm sorry, 26,689,000.
Nobody noticed.
That would have been quite a big decrease.
Yes.
Mr. Oliveros, are you representing this property?
Yes, I am.
Okay, you may proceed with your questions, please.
I actually have no questions with regards to this property. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Merritt,
I have none. Thank you.
Mr. Whitbread.
Just one. You made a statement when you were talking about your comparables. And so the model used these comparables to come up with this value. Now, you and I have talked before. I've asked you this question, I think 100 times. Does a model not incorporate a huge number of sales, not just your comparables on this page?
Oh, like sales of the property? Like sales of properties?
Sales of properties.
We do look at sales, but all of our values are based off our model. So we model our cap rates, and then we look at the market to see if they're similar to what a sale cap rate would be.
Okay, so you don't just look at a few properties to come up with your values in the model.
No, it's like we look at a number of different properties. It's on like a regression. It's a little even far above my head. I don't do the modeling here, so but I understand that our model is based off the market comparables and also off market vacancy and expenses and such. And our overall capitalization rates are also modeled, but we look to the market to see if we're in range.
Yeah, I think I keep coming back to these questions, Stephen, because I haven't found anyone that can really explain the model and the algorithms and regression analysis. So that's fine. I'll try and stay away from that. Thank you.
No problem.
And thank you. I have no further questions. So Mr. Oliveros, when you're ready.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So the subject property at 1370 Stony Place, the roll number is 03-070-360-200. The file number is 22-1332. We're asking the board to reduce the assessed value from 26,689,000 to 25,742,000. I did inspect this property, but I did only inspect the owner's unit on September the 28th of this year. I provided maps and an exterior photo of this subject on pages 6 and 7 of my evidence. And look at page 7 here, the subject property. Again, it is located at 1370 Stony Place and is situated on the south side of Stony Place between Hamlin Street to the west and Irene Street to the east. It is best described as a distribution warehouse, and the buildings are reported as being originally constructed over a number of years, and I've provided a table of the construction. The effective age of the property, according to the city's records, is 1980, and the site, it is irregular in shape with a total site size Again, according to the city's records of 840,970 square feet, or 19.3 acres with M2 zoning, and the land to building ratio is 2.36 to 1. Moving on to my valuation on page 11. So the rentable area that the city has used here is 371,169 square feet. We're actually using an area of 378,363 square feet, which is the area reported by the owner. And that is higher than what the city is applying. We do not disagree with the overall rental rate that they have used of $5.87 a square foot. This results in an annual potential market rent of $2,220,991. We've applied a vacancy rate again of 4%, a shortfall rate of $3.85 a square foot. Again, we're continuing to apply the non-recovered expense allowance for structural and non-recovered expenses of 7%. Based on our cap rate study, we've applied a capitalization rate. This is on page 12 of 7.5%. And this results in a value of $25,742,000. I did require some help on these briefs. I had 13 due in one day because of the move of another due date due to the reconciliation. The value shouldn't say 6,203,000 there on page 13. So again, we are requesting that the value be reduced to 25,742,000 for the subject. And the balance of my brief is just the assessment summaries, the city's workup, the owner page, building details, and the income and expense submission submitted by the clients. And that concludes my presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Oliveros. Mr. Lobenstein, do you have any questions?
Yeah, just give me 1 second here. So you're using our model rents in your workup at $5.87 a square foot?
That's correct, yes.
Can I ask you why you didn't want to use the actuals?
Again, I request on this property, this is just the rent that we had decided to apply, so.
So you feel our model is the best indication of value?
For the potential rent in this case, yes.
Yeah, those are all my questions.
Thank you very much. Mr. Merritt, do you have any questions?
I have none, Madam Chairperson. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Whitbread?
I have none, thanks.
Thank you. And I have no questions either. So we will move to item number 6 on our agenda. 1555 Buffalo Place. And when you are ready, Mr. Lobenstein.
Second here. Okay, 1555 Buffalo Place. It's the roll number is 0307161500, and we have an assessed value of $16,074,000. As you can see on the assessed value, it's actually a split class. There's part of it that's grantable and there's part of it that's taxable because it's Manitoba Liquor Control Commission, so they're a government body. So much of their property is grantable. Now, because of this, I have another curveball here today. We're actually supping. We're actually supping this. We're actually supping this.
Love those curveballs.
Yeah.
Sorry.
So,
okay, sorry.
so this is interesting. So what happened was Manitoba Liquor and Lotteries asked us to separate it out because they wanted to lease out a certain portion of their space. We needed to make it taxable. So they did lease it out. They lost that tenant, and now they want to absorb it back into the property. So they want it grantable again. So we've now changed it back to grantable. So we have just actually like recently done this. I don't even think it was done while these briefs were being made. So there is going to be a supplementary notice coming out for this property, which is going to be changing the assessment. And again, then possibly the appellant may want to appeal it again. So my recommendation today is just to confirm this, knowing that that there is a sub coming out, but that's of course up to the appellant if they want to agree to that.
And Mr. Oliveros, do you have any comment on that?
So the supplementary assessment, it would be for the full year for 2023.
Yeah, correct. So it actually is going to take effect June 1st of 2022. So it will carry through for the full year in 2023.
Do you happen to know when the assessment notice will be mailed out?
That I do not know. From my understanding, the adjustments have just been completed this week. So I'd like to think in a few weeks that the supplementary notice will be mailed out.
Okay. So I do think in that case, then I would agree that we should confirm the values for this property at this point.
Okay, so that would be a request by the assessor or a recommendation by the assessor and a confirmation of that approach by the appellant. Is that correct?
That's correct, yes.
Okay. Mr. Merritt, do you have any questions?
No, I do not, Madam Chairperson, but I would like to have maybe a 5-minute break.
Sure. When we finish this, we'll do
Absolutely.
that.
Thank you.
Mr. Whitbread?
No, I have none, thanks.
I just have a quick question, Mr. Lobenstein. I understand that you're going to be changing the liability status from T back to a grantable property. Would there be a change in value at the same time as a result of the liability change, or it would just simply move back to grantable?
There is going to be a change in value, is my understanding, because when we separated out, we were separating the square footages out, and now we're putting them back together. So I understand that we're going to have to model it again and see what the change of value is.
Okay. And was the property ever rented out?
Yeah, it was.
It was?
Very, very, very briefly, yeah. But then they lost that tenant.
Okay. Okay. Then that's it. I have no additional questions. So thank you very much. And
I have one. Sorry about that.
go ahead.
So to be clear, it's the taxable portion that's going to decrease and the grantable portion that is going to increase. It will, in theory, that's what would happen?
It will be fully grantable.
Oh, fully grantable.
It won't be any more taxable.
Okay, those are all my questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, that concludes item number 6, and we'll take a 5-minute recess. Is that good, Mr. Merritt?
Thank you, Madam.
Thank you. Okay, I'd like to call this meeting back to order. We are now dealing with item number 7 on our docket, 5 Scurfield Boulevard. Mr. Lobenstein, when you're ready.
5 Scurfield Boulevard. The roll number is 0309300245. The assessed value is $9,549,000. I understand that I got emailed a preliminary issue. Do you guys want to cover that now?
Sure.
Okay. Yeah. Oh, do you want me to do this? Okay. So yes, we did send in some information regarding the preliminary issues. So the information that's on the assessor's brief from page 3 onward, right up to page 8. This does appear to be actually post-reference date information. And I found the same information online, speaking to the date of June 2022, I believe. It was either June 22 or July 22 that I wrote in the preliminary issue document that I sent in. So, I mean, I really don't know if this works really against us, but I mean, I did want to note that this was actually based on an advertisement that came in after the reference date. And we also know, because of the tenancies in place at the time, prior to the reference date, that this information would have come from after the reference date.
Okay. I'm looking at the property summary on page 5. The net rates are blacked out on my version. The rents are blacked out.
Yes.
Okay, well, we can certainly, panel, do we need to have a discussion about this, or can we? So Marcella, you're asking that this be disregarded entirely?
I think in general it should be disregarded. I mean, it's not really affecting me, but the fact that it actually came from information that was post-reference date, I mean, it shouldn't have been included in the brief in the first place.
Ron, do you have a comment?
I think, Lynn, that we should have a little,
Okay, a little recess.
amongst ourselves. And
Okay, let's do
maybe
that.
ask them to leave the room.
Sure. Let's do that. Thank you. I'd like to call this meeting back to order. So the panel has considered the information presented on starting on page 3 of the assessor's document. We agree that this is post-reference information, so we will not be considering that information. So Mr. Lobenstein, you can carry on, but we won't be looking at that.
Sure. So as I stated, we have an assessed value of $9,549,000. I do have a recommendation.
Okay.
As you can see there on the bottom, to reduce the value to $9,388,000. This is adjusting the area to match the mailer, so you can see the workup on my page 2 that was done by my colleague. So just basically it's an adjustment from 49,124,000 square feet to 47,233,000 square feet.
Okay, Mr. Navarro, we have a recommendation in front of you. Do you accept the recommendation?
No, I don't.
Okay, thank you very much. And Mr. Lobenstein, carry on.
Okay, I'll continue on to my page. Scroll down to oh, I'm surprised. Sorry. Took all my pictures away. All right. I didn't realize all the pictures in there. So, all right. Going forward, we have, so on my page 10, there are rank comparables. So this is done on the income approach. Again, these are the market comparables that our model is based off of. You can see the net rents ranging from $11.75 a square foot all the way up to $16.50 a square foot. They're all in very close proximity to the subject property. The majority of them are on Scurfield, and there's also one on Clarence and Trottier. And the lease starts and the lease terms are within the market range, and the leaseable areas are very close to the subject premises. So going to my page 11, you can see the income workup for this property that we initially had. We've now obviously changed that with our recommendation, but we are still using a 6.9% cap rate, a 3.5% vacancy, and 3% expenses. Again, on my page 13 is the capitalization rate chart that we have. And you can see that it falls within the 20th and the 80th percentile, the 5.5 to the 7.45. And the mailer, so this is a tenanted property, so there is the mailer to consider. That would be on page 27 and 28, and you can see the master rent roll on page 29 and 30 for the subject properties. And you can see that the model rates are fairly close to the actual rates for the subject property. So we feel that the value should be should be changed to $9,388,000 to reflect an adjustment to the area. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mr. Navarro, do you have any questions?
Okay, so yes, the first question would be whether you've ever been inside this building.
Not the whole building, no, but I have been in certain premises before, or to vacate properties or to add a business in.
That's fine. So I'll move to your page 2, and I'll note that you have the side-by-side there, and you explained why you made the adjustment on the property, and that was to decrease the square footage based on the mailer that was sent in by the client, correct?
Correct.
So your model rent originally was $14.47 per square foot, and that was based on 49,124 square feet. And now you change that to 47,233 square feet, and the model is now predicting $14.79 per square foot. So it's gone up, and that is based on probably the change in square footage, correct?
Correct.
Okay, and just to make sure, you yourself have not made any adjustments, or neither has Mr. Burley, correct?
To the model?
The model rent.
No, I have not made any adjustments.
Okay, so we can agree that these are all model parameters?
I believe they are, yes.
Okay. So if we turn to your page 10, now we go through the rent comparables. Now I've taken some time to look at your rent comparables here. Now, not that this is validating anything, but I added up your total leasable areas and then calculated the rents out. So when I did that, I came to an average per square foot rent of $13.28. That's $252,582 divided by 19,022 square feet. So that is basically adding up all of the areas and then coming out with the square foot rent. So your rent comparables are coming out to an average of $13.28 per square foot. Now, if I simply just average them out as is, we get a straight average of $13.58 per square foot on these rent comparables. Now, I know that you're not in charge of modeling. Can you give some explanation as to why your own rent comparables are coming out so much lower than your modeled rent?
Why our rent comparables are coming out lower than our model rent? Well, because we look at them on an individual basis, not a gross basis, how you divided them. We're trying to match them to the premises, each individual premise. We're not trying to match it to a gross area or a leasable area overall.
Okay. So in that sense, we can look at similar areas in your modeled rent, okay? So let's look at 62 Scourfield, for example. And that is your first comparable. It's 5,895 square feet. Effective year built 1990. The rent is $11.75, correct?
That's correct.
Okay. So your second last premise ID is 5,399 square feet, and that rent is $14.42. That's almost a $3 difference per square foot that the model is predicting.
Yep.
Okay.
So if you look at the lease start, it's a 2016 lease start and 62 Scourfield Bay. So he have picked out basically one of the older ones, which is fine. So the model, these are what Mr. Frolik, as we talked about, picked out for rent comparables. $11.75. It could be considered that one would be higher now.
Okay.
As of the reference period.
Okay. So you yourself were not involved in picking out these comparables?
Oh, they were not mine.
Okay. So in terms of the other parameters, you've also said that those are modeled. Now, if we take a look at your industrial B classification for cap rates on page 13, your 20th percentile is 5.55. So basically that's saying that there is basically only 20% are lower than this amount, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And again, that goes for the 80th percentile, 7.45. Only, I guess only 20% are higher than that amount.
That's correct.
Yeah. So at 6.9, you're about in the middle point, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And that 6.9 is accounting, I guess, for the age of the property, correct?
Yeah, there's various things: age, location, size of the property. Yeah, it's a balance of risk. So
if we look at the brokerage reports for industrial B, you'll notice that Collier's, for example, your Q1 2021 as you listed is between 6 and 6.75, and you are above that, correct?
correct.
Okay. And that goes again for CBRE and for Cushman Wakefield. Again, you are above that.
Well, not CBRE. We're for the industrial B, we'd be slightly below. They're low and they're high.
Okay, for CBRE. Oh yes, right. Because they range up to 7.25.
Yep.
Correct. Okay. Now, again, that is partly because of the age of the property. And what other considerations would the model pick up?
Location, size would be two more that they look at.
Now, if you look at the income and expense questionnaire, and I'm looking at page 27, you would agree that there is a management fee recovery there, correct?
Page 27.
Under the income category.
Yep, management fee recovery line item 3620. Yep.
Okay. And under the expenses, there are also some non-recoverables that are noted there. We'll just glance at that. We'll come back to that. Okay, those are my questions.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Navarro. Mr. Merritt, do you have any questions?
At this point, Madam Chairman or Chairperson, I do not have any questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Whitbread?
I have none, thanks.
Okay, and neither do I. So, Mr. Navarro, when you're ready.
Okay, just to make sure the panel has that revised.
Yeah, Madam Chair, I just Mr. Masalo just sent me another sheet. It is a kind of a revised calculation. I put that into the share folder.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I revised.
Sorry, what's it? It's a revised.
Yes, the revisions are due to errors in the calculations.
Okay.
And as we note, as we go through the brief, for example, on the capitalization rate, I note a 7% cap rate, where the original calculation included something much higher. So that is what it's addressing. And there was also an error in the vacant space shortfall. So I'll go through that, but I'll start up with the brief to begin with. Okay, so this is 5 Scourfield Boulevard. We have a gross floor area of 52,633 square feet, a leasable area of 47,233 square feet. The original age of the building is noted as 1988 based on our current physical date of 2023. We're already at 35 years of age. And the site area is 143,724 square feet. The current assessment is 9,549,000. And I will just ask you to glance over the intended use of the report, as I've gone over that many times in my presentations this cycle. I have been through this building several times, so I don't need to talk about it. On page 6, you'll see an overhead picture, and this is taken from overhead aerial photography. You'll see a bird's eye view in the bottom part. And as you'll note on page 7, this is an industrial flex warehouse. So it has flex space, which can be used as office space, any type of industrial use. But I think the most common use for this location is office. The highest and best uses perceived to be its current use as an industrial building. And the approach that we are using is the income approach to value. So in looking at the rentable area, we got the rentable area obviously from the submissions. We believe that's correct. So we have used 47,233 square feet. As noted before, obviously this has changed. Originally the city was using 1447. I believe they are using 1479 now, and that is based on the reconfiguration of the space. We have used 1348 based on our actuals. Obviously, we had to adjust for vacant space. And again, 1348 is what we are using. That is based on actual leases in place. Now, in terms of the vacancy, we have gone with an adjusted vacancy and collection loss. As you can see there, we are at 8%. And the actual vacancy is actually 11% over the last 2 years. And I don't need to look into any future because, again, that's post-reference date information. In terms of shortfall, we did adjust the shortfall to $5 per square foot. And that is also to account for some vacant space as well. Non-recovered expenses, we have not adjusted that. We continue to use the 5% and the 2%, whereas the city uses the 2% and 1%. And for the capitalization rate, we have used 7%. And then on page, again, 20, you'll note at the bottom below the chart, which gives our cap rate ranges. There is a sentence there that says, based on our study, the subject property should be applied a capitalization rate of no less than 7%. So that is what I was originally intending to do. So that is why I've adjusted the property valuation. So you can see that we've included a chart of properties ranging between 6.60 and 9.16. That is the capitalization rate report. I can go over that. However, our investment categories between Class A, Class B, and non-investment grade range from 6% all the way up to 8+%. Now, we will note that in previous questioning of the city, they have acknowledged that cap rates in the city of Winnipeg also range above 9%. And so that actually coincides quite well with what we've done in our charts. There are some slight variances in terms of what they've done in their process, but their ranges actually are not that far from ours. So for Class B, we are noting that the Class B for this particular category is ranging between 650 and 750. We've essentially laid it down right at the middle. And that is, again, based on age, based on location, based on risk factors. There really isn't that much of a difference in terms of the cap rate between the assessor and ourselves. I believe the assessor has chosen a cap rate of 6.90, we are at 7.0. Now, in terms of valuation itself, on page 22, you can see this is the non-revised version. So I would ask you to probably flip to your revised version. You can see that the income does not change. We are going with the actual. We have adjusted for one vacancy there. We have, again, increased the vacancy to 8%. We have adjusted the shortfall to $5. And originally it was $26,450 that we had in there. So again, we have gone down. In terms of the management, or as we call it, non-recoverable expenses, that is, again, static at 5% and 2% other. Now, in terms of the capitalization rate, we have put in a capitalization rate of 7%. That gives us an income value of $7,511,498. So rounded, that would be $7,511,000. Now, the remainder of the presentation involves, or the brief, simply just the income and expenses from the property. I don't believe we need to go over these, so I am open for questions.
Thank you, Mr. Navarro. Mr. Lobenstein, do you have any questions?
Just a few. My first question regards your vacancy rate of 8%. You, on your brief, on your page 18, you have the Johnson report, and it states that the Fort Garry area for multi-tenanted buildings is 3.4%, but you've decided to use an 8% vacancy allowance. Why would you not use a more market vacancy when this building has not shown vacancy for very long?
Well, and those are partly risk factors that we look at by speaking with the owner and getting an understanding of how the property is doing now, in the past, and going forward. So an 8% vacancy is not simply adjusting for past vacancy. We can acknowledge that 2017, 2018, there was no vacancy, but going forward, there was vacancy. And so we felt we needed to adjust the vacancy based on, first of all, the vacancy over the past 2 years, so 2019 and 2020. But also, there is some acknowledgement in terms of the property itself, which, I mean, you would really only get from a conversation with the owner. So that is why we have adjusted the vacancy upward.
Yeah, actually, those are all my questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mr. Merritt, do you have any questions?
Thank you. Mr. Navarro, would you say your estimate of value or conclusion to value would be site specific?
I would say that it is site specific, but it is at market. So we have looked carefully at the market. We didn't feel that we needed to include market comparables to adjust the property value or the property rent. And as you just observed in the assessor's own information, they average out at, I believe, $13.58 and $13.28, depending on how you look at the comparables themselves. So what we're saying here is, yes, we believe that the model has overstated the rent, the potential rent of this property. So that is why we think the actuals are the appropriate market rent.
So you're fairly close in regards to cap rate. So, you know, so it's just more or less the rate per square foot and a few other factors taken into consideration for the subject, eh?
Absolutely. We have acknowledged some additional vacancy, which we just spoke about, and we have adjusted the shortfall a little bit. But the rent is really the big issue here. In terms of the cap rate, I don't know how the model stratifies their cap rates. Certainly, I think when we look at brokerage reports and the way that we look at capitalization rates, and then we stratify them, they tend to be either 50 points or 25 points in general. So that's just a matter of opinion, but I mean, in our opinion, it should be 7. Model saying 6 point, but there's not much of a difference there.
All right. I thank you very kindly. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Merritt. Mr. Whitbread, do you have any questions?
Just clear up a little point for me. On the mailer that we have, the income statement, it shows a vacancy rate of 6% if I do the math.
Yes.
And you've elected 8%, saying the actual is 11. I'm confused. 6, 8, 11.
Yeah. So if you look at the actual income summary on page 22, and your revised will also show the same information.
Oh, yeah.
You'll see that there is 52,085 square feet. Now, if you divide that by the total square footage, that is where you get 11% from. So the mailer is actually, I believe, not correct. It is actually 11%. We have adjusted it somewhat upwards. But first of all, we didn't agree with the city's vacancy to begin with, and general what we use throughout the city is about starting at a 4% cap vacancy. So we are a little bit higher than them to begin with, and then we added for additional vacancy at this particular time, which we think has to be acknowledged. Now,
Okay.
yes, that's it.
I get that. I mean, 2% is equivalent to about $10,000.
Yeah.
NOI, so it's fairly significant. And
Yeah.
I get your point. Thank you. So just to confirm, you're saying the 8% is a mistake. Yeah, it's actually 11.
No, I didn't take it up as high as 11. That's just me.
No, but I'm sorry. Let me back up. The 6% is a mistake on the mailer.
Yes.
You took it to the 8
Yes.
instead of the 11.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah.
No further questions.
Thank you very much, and I have no questions. So we'll move on to the last property on the docket, item number 8, 110 Lawson Crescent. Mr. Lobenstein, whenever you're ready.
For 110 Lawson Crescent, the roll number is 10014030000. The assessed value is $7,060,000. So we have 4 buildings that have been constructed on this property. We have 3 premises. The effective years and average year of builds range from 1998 to 2006. The zoning is M3 heavy manufacturing. The land area is 182,486 square feet. And the plan area or the gross floor area is 61,344,000 square feet. The leasable area is the same. And the land to plan is 3.03. So we have 4 separate buildings that were built on this property. The first 2 were built in 1998. The first one is the warehouse portion. It's 40,000 square feet with 26-foot wall height. The next one in 1998 was an office portion of 8,100 square feet with 12-foot wall height. And then there was in 2003, 5,000. There's an addition of 5,000 square feet with 24-foot wall height. And in 2006, there was another addition of 7,074 square feet with 20-foot wall height. So moving forward, there is one rent to consider in this property on page 2. It's for Flatlanders, and they pay $7.68 a square foot, and they lease 12,803 square feet. So we'll go to my page 7 where we do have pictures for this one. You can see a street view picture of my first one. That would be looking at the showroom for Flatlanders with the big windows there. And then and further down, you can see the location of the property, Lawson Crescent area. It's just off Kenniston, kind of near IKEA, sandwiched between Linden Woods and the Terracon Park business park there. Page 8 will give you an overhead view of the subject property. You can see there's a few Kwanzaa huts for outbuildings. You can see the main warehouse portion that was built where the red dot is, and behind it is the office portion, the 8,000 square foot office portion. And the other two additions are in front of the warehouse portion, kind of in that L shape. The bottom of page 8, you can see the rear. You can see the office part behind the warehouse portion of the property. Or I guess that would be the front because it's fronting Lowson, my mistake. And page 9, you just have an idea of what the showroom looks like for Flatlanders. So we'll move forward to my rent comparables. You can see that they're on Scurfield, Buffalo, Sony, Salto, Fennel, and the last three on Fennel. So they're all in fairly close proximity to the subject property. The net rents range from $7.88 a square foot, all the way to $10.50 a square foot. And the years built range from 1970 up to 2007. And the wall heights, similar to subject property, range from 12 feet all the way up to 31 feet. The leased areas are similar to the premises that we're showing. So from 4,316 square feet all the way up to 42,781 square feet. Again, the lease terms and the lease starts, we're trying to look at the market. So they're fairly similar to the market in terms of the lease terms, and the lease starts are very close to the reference date. This brings us to page 4, which is my income summary. You can see how the premises are broken up. And then the model rents are beside it at $8.62, $7.65, and $8.03 a square foot for a potential rent of $514,169. We're applying a 3.5% vacancy, 3% expenses, and a 6.7% capitalization rate for an estimated value of $7,060,000. Again, on my page 5, you can see our capitalization rate table. And this capitalization rate, again, falls between our 20th and 80th percentile for industrial properties. The mailers start on page 10. You can see sort of the rent roll on page 13. So we feel the value of $7,060,000 should be confirmed. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mr. Oliveros, do you have any questions?
I do not have any questions. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Mr. Merritt?
Not at this point. Thank you very kindly.
Thank you. Mr. Whitbread?
No, I have none. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Mr. Oliveros, whenever you're ready with your presentation.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So the subject property is 110 Lowson Crescent. The roll number is 10-001-403-000. The file number is 22-2871. We're asking the board to reduce the assessed value from $7,060,000 to $6,203,000. So I have inspected this property on, again, September the 28th of this year. I provided photos as well as a map of the subject property on pages 6 to 7. These are exterior photos. Going on to page 8 of my brief. So subject, it is a one-story, part metal, part steel, and part wood frame structure, and it is best described as an industrial warehouse. The property is located on the west side of Lowson Crescent, near the southwest corner of Kennison Boulevard and Lowson Crescent, to the north of Rockwall Road. The original structure, it was built in 1998 with 2 distinct components. The first is the steel frame front office section with a plan area of 8,100 square feet and a reported wall height of 12 feet. The original metal frame manufacturing warehouse was built in 1998 and has a wall height of 26 feet. Now, these wall heights that I'm stating here, they are the average wall heights reported by the city. But when I went out to measure the subject, I was seeing wall heights ranging from 20 feet to 20 feet to 28 feet. So just to mention that, there was a metal frame addition to the warehouse that was built in 2003 and measures 5,000 square feet with a wall height of 24 feet. The final addition is a 7,074 square foot wood frame showroom that has a wall height of 20 feet. The site is rectangular in shape with a total site size of approximately 182,486 square feet with M3 industrial zoning, and the land to building ratio is 3.03 to 1. We do not consider that low. That's just a portion that I forgot to take out from the template. I provided further photos of the subject starting on page 18 of my brief. So just to explain sort of what's going on here. So the exterior photo that you see here on page 18, this is the only way to access the Flatlanders unit. So there's no direct access to that unit from off of Kensington Boulevard. And you'd actually have to cross through the adjoining unit, which is the Pritchard Metal Farm Fabrics unit A1 in order to access that site. So we do feel that that may affect the rent in some way. The next photo on page 18, this is the office portion of unit A1. And included a photo of the manufacturing warehouse of unit A1 as well on page 19. There is the showroom of the Flatlanders unit on page 19 as well. As well as a snapshot of the warehouse of the unit on page 20, and just a room there for the unit that is actually now occupied. That is unit A2, the Canon systems unit. So just to give you a snapshot of that unit there. So going to my evaluation now on page 12. So I want to go through my lease comparables first here. So for unit A1, we have identified 4 lease comparables that range in size from 31,685 square feet to 48,800 square feet. The effective age ranges from 1978 to 2007. We have wall heights ranging from 10 feet to 31 feet. And the zonings, unit 1, M2, index 1, M2, index 2 is M3, index number 3 is M2, and index 4 is M2. The rents range from $6 a square foot to $10.50 a square foot. We have an average of $8.13 and a median of $8 a square foot. For unit A2, we have effective ages ranging from 1974 to 2001. Leasable areas ranging from 2,250 square feet to 3,845 square feet. Wall heights ranging from 20 feet to 27 feet. And the zonings are a mix of M2 and M1. Land to building ratios for the rent comparables for this unit range from 2.79 to 3.29, and the rents range from $9 a square foot to $14.95 a square foot. The average of these rent comparables is $12.34 a square foot with a median of $13 a square foot. And going on to my lease comparables for unit B, the effective ages range from 1974 to 2008. Total leasable areas range from 10,400 square feet to 19,594 square feet. Wall heights ranging from 17 feet to 31 feet. Line to building ratios 1.93 to 3.24, and these are all M2 zoning. The rents range from $8.25 a square foot to $20 a square foot. And so based on these lease comparables and considering the lease in place for the Flatlanders unit, for unit A1, that's the owner occupied unit, we've applied a rent of $7.25 a square foot, which is in range of the rent comparables that we have identified. And to mention as well, for the Flatlanders unit, it was rented out at a rate of $7.68 a square foot as of the reference date. So again, considering that rent and the lease comparables, we do feel that $7.25 a square foot to unit A1 is appropriate. For the unit A2, we actually had a lease in place here that took effect January 1st of 2021. And the rate was $20.80 a square foot. But of course, we can't take into account the expenses as of 2021 because it would account for post-reference information. So we've applied the unrecovered expenses for 2020, which is $8.53 a square foot. This works out to $12.27 netted out. But to gauge that, as I mentioned, we've identified these comparables for this unit, and we do feel $12.25 here is appropriate. Again, that's close to what we've estimated applying the gross rent for this property with the 2020 expenses. For the Flatlanders unit, we simply applied the rate of $7.68 per square foot, as that was the lease in place as of the reference date. For the vacancy allowance, we've applied a rate of 4%. For the shortfall rate, we've applied $3.85 a square foot. 7% for unrecovered expenses. And for the cap rate, we've applied a lower rate than the city here, actually at 6.5%. And this brings us to our value of $6,203,000. And that concludes my presentation. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mr. Lobenstein, do you have any questions?
Just a few. On your page 8 of your cap rate study, you have some vacancy rates. In the Fort Garry area, it says 3.6%, but you're using 4%. Can you ask me why you didn't go with what was in your evidence?
So, I mean, we're looking at these properties in perpetuity. We can see here that, okay, so for the Fort Garry industrial, for the last 10 years, we've seen vacancy rates from 1.3% up to 9.7%. So looking at this in perpetuity, we've applied 4% across the board, even for our cap rate comparables. So that's the reason why we've applied 4% for the subject.
And for your rental comparables, here, I lost the page. Oh, there it is. So on your page 13, you've used the contract rent, and you've looked at the market for your 2 other ones. And yet, for the 3 other ones, you looked at the market, but for all 3 of your rents, you've come in under your average and your median, it looks like. Can you tell me why you decided to come in under the average and the median for your rents?
Again, it was just gauging what the, so for units A1 and B, again, the actual lease in place for unit B is $7.68 a square foot. So taking into account economy of scales, $7.25 a square foot makes sense. For unit A2, again, like, I don't typically look at, sorry, I do look at the average to sort of gauge what rent would be appropriate to apply, but it's, again, specifically looking at what the market rent comparables are telling me, as well as, again, I've looked at the rent that was in place for this unit as of 2020, as of 2020, as of January 1st, 2021, and is $20.80 a square foot. And again, applying the expenses in as of 2020, which would likely be lower than they would for 2021, $12.25 a square foot seem fair.
Okay, those are all my questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Merritt, do you have any questions?
No, thank you, Madam.
Thank you, Mr. Whitbread.
Just a small discrepancy in the square footage. City says 61,344, you say 6903,
Yes.
$440, 440 square feet. Can you explain that?
Yes, so the difference would have been for unit B. The owner states on their income and expense mailer that the leased area is 12,803 square feet. So that would account for the difference that you're seeing.
Okay, that's the one that's occupied.
That is correct. Yes.
Second question then. I just need to understand this. We appear to have about 48,541 square feet vacant and 12,803 square feet occupied.
Oh no, so all units now are occupied. So the owner or a related subsidiary occupies unit A1 Hanum Systems, just moved in January 2021. So those units are occupied.
Okay, I thought I heard you say one tenant only. But that was prior to 2021, right?
Right, yes, so that's probably what you read here on page 12 of my brief. I just discovered after that unit A2 was, after writing this, unit A2 was occupied. So there's actually 2 units that are under lease and 1 that's owner occupied.
Okay, I did see it, but I did hear you say it too.
Oh.
And that new entrant then happened in January 2021? Prior to this. Okay,
Yes.
thank you. No further questions.
Thank you. And I do have a question because I didn't quite understand your answer on your lease comps. I'm looking specifically at unit A1. It's 45,100 square feet. You did use 725. Your average, if I'm looking at the right table, is $8. $8.13, and your median is average is 8.13, median is 8. So why did you use 725?
Well, we also have a comp here, index number 2 on Los and Crescent as well, and it's $6.75 a square foot.
Okay.
That would account for that. And the flat ladders unit, again, looking at that, it's 12,800 square feet. And it leases for $7.68 a square foot. So taking into account economies of scale, the rent applied to a larger unit would typically be lower.
Yes. Okay, but we have a almost $43,000 or square foot area at 925. Index 3. So that's also very similar, right?
Yes.
So you could have gone either way on that one.
I agree, could have, yes.
Yeah, okay. Okay, I was just trying to figure it out myself. Okay, thank you. I have no further questions. So I think then that concludes our day. And seeing as we've heard all items on our agenda, this hearing is now adjourned. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Take care, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.